This is my 2002 Toyota Tundra, and I'm not Doug DeMuro. I'm Sal. Thanks for checking out the video. Today I thought it'd be kind of fun though to do a Doug-inspired sort of video where I talk through some of the quirks that I found out about this truck over the last couple years. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so let's start with the name, Toyota Tundra. Now, if you don't know, the model before this was called the Toyota T100, and that ran from 1992 till 1998, I believe. And then in 1999, Toyota unveiled the all-new Toyota T150, at least until Ford executives heard about it, and they actually filed a lawsuit because it sounded too close to the Ford F-150. They won, Toyota lost, and they had to change their name, and they picked Toyota Tundra, and it's stuck ever since, obviously. Also, I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure that there was a little bit of drama going on with the styling as well. I know that both of these trucks were designed in the early 2000s, where everything was just kind of blobby and you know, all looks kind of generic, but I mean, I still think that this truck and the same generation F-150 look very, very similar. So I can imagine that there's a little bit of drama there too with the Ford executives. But I will say, I might be a little bit biased, I think that the Tundra has aged a lot better than the Ford. Okay, so while we're out here, I want to talk about really the only other exterior quirk on this truck, and that is the locking gas door. I didn't really think anything of it until my brother asked me, he's like, is that like factory, like a locking gas door? And I was like, you know what, that's a great question. I don't know why we have a locking gas door from the factory. You know, most cars have like the pull handle inside somewhere, or even just like the little you know, finger hole on the outside, but you know, nope, you got to unlock it with a key here on the first gen Tundra. Okay, so last thing I want to cover out here is the extremely quirky Stepside Tundra, which I obviously don't have, but it deserves an honorable mention because, I mean, it is often regarded as like the ugliest truck ever built. It looks like a PT Cruiser and my truck had a baby. It is very, very unique styling. And I have seen a few builds on Facebook groups where people have big camper setups and stuff, and it makes it look a little bit cooler, but man, I don't know about it. It is quite the look. And interestingly enough, I didn't know I was going to do so much research into gas caps, but the Stepside Tundra doesn't have a locking gas cap. So just a little bonus quirk for you there. Who knew? Moving inside the truck, the next quirk is actually here on the key fob. This is a OEM Toyota key fob, and I paired it using the factory instructions, but what I think is unique is you press the top button to lock the truck, and then there's two buttons here, so you'd expect to press the bottom button to unlock it, but you don't. You press the top button again. So it's like, why the heck would they not just have two separate buttons? And then you're like, well, the bottom one must be a panic button. No, you hold the top one for 5 seconds, and that's the panic button. So it's just kind of funny. I don't even know what the bottom button's used for. Probably some sort of programming thing, but yeah, only the top button on the key fob here. Now that we're sitting inside the truck, I got two interesting mechanical sort of quirks that you encounter on a daily basis and you may not even recognize. The first one is here with the fan position knob, and when you go to defrost mode, it actually kicks on the AC compressor in the engine bay. I remember watching a Mark Rober video years ago about the most efficient way to clear up your windows on a cold morning from fog, and I remember him saying you got to have defog on and you want to have AC on to have that nice conditioned air to clear up your windows quickly. So I just think it's interesting because this knob is obviously mechanical. You can hear and feel all like the little flaps going behind the dashboard, but somehow it knows when you get to defog mode, then it also kicks on the air conditioner. So just a little quirk. I thought it was very interesting. The second quirk is a little bit more subtle, and honestly I didn't even notice it until someone pointed it out on the Facebook group a few months ago. And so these early model first gen Tundras have a 4-speed automatic transmission with a 5th overdrive gear. So yes, they offered it with manual, but that was with the V6 option. I have the V8 with the 4-speed automatic and overdrive. And the quirk here is that when the truck is getting up to operating temperature, the truck won't shift into overdrive gear. So like I said, very subtle, and you might not even notice it, but after it was pointed out to me, I noticed that before the needle moved on the coolant gauge, the truck would hold slightly higher RPMs, and then literally as soon as I see the needle move, the truck will shift into overdrive, and I mean, you can feel it. So it's a very nerdy quirk, but I think it's worth mentioning, and I think it's kind of cool, and I wanted to share. As far as the interior of the first gen Tundra, it's really basic. There's not a whole lot of quirks in here. It's just no frills, same blobby early 2000s styling as the outside, but there is one really kind of cool quirk, and it has to do with the sunglass holder up here, or taco holder. And it's this factory Velcro that sits behind it. And at first I was like, what the heck is that for? And come to find out, it's kind of ingenious. You can swap out this panel here, and the other panel has these pins on it, and you can actually put a garage door opener up there, Velcro it to the top of this, and then you line up the pins with the button on it. So when you get home, all you have to do is press on the panel, and it works like an in-car garage door opener. So I just think that's really cool. I'm not ready to sacrifice my sunglasses holder for it, but I just think it's a very unique quirk. Another interesting quirk up in this area is actually the sun visors. So if we give it the straight pipes test, it doesn't actually extend back, but it has this little extra plastic piece that does extend back. So it like half passes the test. And then the especially quirky part is it actually has a second sun visor up here. So it's just funky. You got like full sun coverage, and you can do it on both sides. So it looks really funny with all 4 sun visors down. But yeah, dual sun visors in the first gen Tundra. Looking in the gauge cluster next, again, it is no frills. There's no miles per gallon readout. There's no outside air temperature readout. There's no little screen showing any other car data, but I mean, I guess you can't really fault them for that. But an interesting quirk that isn't included, but I really think should be, is there's no headlight indicator on here. There's no way of knowing if your headlights are on from the gauge cluster. It just seems like there should be a light. There's a light if you have your high beams on, it lets you know, but nothing's showing that you got your headlights on. It's the same story with the fog lights too. There's a button to the left of the steering wheel, and there's no indication in the gauge cluster anywhere. So you just kind of got to know if they're on or off. And it's even a little bit harder with the fog lights because the button itself doesn't show. Like, you know, with the headlights, you can see, you know, what you've selected. With the button, you just kind of got to feel if it's in or out. If it's in, they're on. If it's out, then the fog lights are off. So just a weird thing that I think should be in the instrument cluster if your headlights and fog lights are on, but interesting quirk that they were omitted. Well, I hope you learned a thing or two, or at least found the video entertaining. If there's any other quirks that you've found that I didn't mention, please throw them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And if you're new to the channel, I make a lot of videos about this truck. I'm always trying to make it a little bit better, so if you're interested in that, consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and have a great rest of your day.